Hey everyone, how you doing today? This is Gilbert with Interactive Utopia. You can find a little bit more about me at interactiveutopia.com, and today we're going to be working with the Twilio API, the Twilio Voice API. Basically, it's an API that allows you to make phone calls from your application, and in this case we're going to be using it, we're going to be building it with PHP. So a couple of quick notes. You can find more information online. You can find it on the Twilio documentation. They have a ton of information in there. Actually, the code that we're going to be working on, it's from the documentation. So I just want to go through it, and yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So you can go online, and again, I'll put all the links in the section below. But basically, they have all the information that you need to know in there. It is very simple. The most important thing that you need to do is you need to use Composer to install the Twilio SDK. If you go to packages.org and you can just look for the Twilio SDK, it's going to give you the information and the instructions on how to install it. Which basically they're right here, or you can go to the GitHub page where it has a little bit more information about it, and it also pretty much give you how to install it. But the most important thing is, go ahead, install the Twilio SDK using Composer into your server, and then from there on it's gonna be a breeze. The other thing that you're gonna need to do, you're gonna have to go to the Twilio website, to their console, and you need to create a application. You need to create an account, you need to create an application. Usually they'll create it for you. My first Twilio account, you need to verify a number, and that way you can get started. Once you go to your dashboard, you'll encounter your credentials, which you just need to copy and paste it into some file, maybe set them as environmental variables. That way they can be used in the future. So again, download the SDK using Composer, go to the Twilio website, create an account, and then we can go ahead and work on the code. Once you have that, go to the quick start and just kind of make a quick read. But basically all we need is this code on the right side. This is gonna allow us to make a call. So how do we do that? Let's go to Visual Studio Code. So basically, this is the code that I'm using. Again, I just kind of copied and pasted, did a couple little tweaks in there. The first thing that I did is I have error reporting on for developing purposes. If we find a mistake, which I did when I was writing it, basically my vendor, the error that I found was the location of my autoload file was different from what was on the SDK, so I had to work on that. But if you don't set up to display the errors, you might not know what's going on. So first thing that I do, errors on. The second thing that we need to do is require that file that was installed by Composer. So we're requiring the autoload file, and then we're using the client, the Twilio client API. From there on, we need to, in this scenario, I store my credentials as environmental values, so I need to include them into my environment. So they're just on a different file for security purposes. You can put them wherever you want, but this tends to be the safe way, more when you're working on a bigger application where you might need it a couple times. Just make sure they're stored properly. So I retrieve that, I put them into my environment, then I set them up as actual variables, which I'm going to be using in a little bit. It's going to require me to set up my Twilio number, which is the one that Twilio is going to be giving you when you sign up. And then you need to set a phone number. This can be dynamic, depending on what you want to do. If you want to do maybe like a CRM that, you know, maybe calls your clients when you're trying to follow up or something like that, then that could be called from the database. But in this case, because we're doing just a test, the number has to be verified so that it can work on. So, you know, we're just using the number that I have verified, which you can call me if you have any questions on. And then once we have all that information set up, then we can make the request. The first thing that we're doing is we are creating a client, a Twilio client that, you know, going back to the composer that the file that we loaded. So we're creating a new client object, and we're passing the account ID and the authorization token to it. Okay, that's gonna create your new client, and then with that you can actually make the call, which in this scenario, you know, we're using the client object, we're going under its account object, under calls, and then we're creating a call. We're passing the number that we want to call to, or number. And the third one is where you have the what you want the call to say. You know, if you want it to be transfer, or in this case, we're just passing it, you know, one of the demos XML files, which has like certain verbiage, you know, just a couple sentences in there for it to say, just to test it out. So you go ahead and you upload that to the browser, and then once we're in the browser, you know, let's say that we hit that, we go ahead and do the URL, then I should be receiving a call on this phone very shortly, which, let's give it a second. Let's hope that it works. Here we go. It is receiving the call. And then
by upgrading to a full account. Press any key.
To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail,
it's a test
press
account.
2. Oops, your caller just hung up. Goodbye.
Oh, I guess we hanged up since there was no caller in this case. But as you can see, that's pretty much how it's made to start a call. So you can even go a little further. Right now, this is just a file that calls a number. But if you want to expand on it, you can go to, you know, let's say you want it to handle your calls. You can go to your Twilio account, you go under phone numbers, and then you gotta, where do we go, active numbers, and then you can click on it, and you can, you know, change the webhook to whatever you want it to be. And if, you know, in this case, I set up that URL as my webhook, so whenever somebody calls my number, that, you know, this 866 number, it's gonna call that URL, and then it's gonna do whatever it asks it to. So for an example, if you want to take it a step further, you can basically, maybe you're a business and you want to be tracking your calls, you want to see what's going on, you can have a number where all your clients call you to, then it's going to hit this file. You can maybe set up a CRM where it tracks, you know, the number or the time that it called, you know, whatever you want to be tracking, store it to the database, and then after it gets stored, or simultaneously, you can be sending it out to call the, you know, the number of whoever is going to be answering. So that way you get the call, you process it, and then you send it to wherever it needs to be. Of course, this is really quick, so they're not even going to notice any delay. And yeah, so there's a lot of ways that you can expand on it, but this is probably the most simple example. This is just, you know, again, to call a number. You can either use it by hitting the URL yourself or in an app, or you can do it when somebody calls you to call the webhook, and then you do whatever you want to do, and then like retransfer the user. All right, so I just wanted to show you that really quick. I hope that it helps you. If you have any questions or concerns, leave them in the comment box below. And if you like this video, please do subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you have any projects that you need assistance with, just go to interactiveutopia.com, send me a message, and it will be my pleasure to assist you. All right, thank you, and I hope you have a really nice day. Goodbye.